Hello everybody, Darren here, and welcome back to Anno 1800. Anno 1800? Well, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. And that's because today we've got a nice fan servicey type episode for you. Not one, but two episodes are remaining in this series, including this one. So there will be one more after it. And if you've just joined, just want to preface this, if you're a brand new subscriber, a new viewer, you haven't checked out my Anno content before, just stop watching now and just leave. This is fan service for the real veterans of the series, okay? Just get out of here. No, I'm only joking, of course. But it is just worth mentioning, this is a very weird episode. The whole thing is pretty much going to be a time-lapse, so there's no real gameplay in this one. About halfway through, about 15 minutes in, we're going to be looking at the DLC that actually just released. It's a Cosmetic DLC called National Parks. Awesome DLC, actually. Really happy with it. From my testing and having a look at it really briefly, I thought we should definitely show it on camera and just break up this massive time lapse about halfway through. And the good thing is it actually focuses on the old world. So this particular video is going to be an entire refactoring, reorganization, and a beautification of the New World. Specifically the island of Manola, the biggest island in the New World that came with the DLC New World Rising, of course. So we're just really focusing there, and I had initially envisioned bringing all the islands into one big time-lapse as a final video, but it just turned out that this one took way longer than I'd expected because it is huge, and there's so much to do. But it was kind of fortuitous, because this new DLC released, adding in these national parks that really fit the old world aesthetic, so it's perfect. Next week, we'll go back to the old world as a final send-off for the Island of Swords, do a few things over in Cape Trelawney as well, Crown Farms, as you may remember. Add in some of those extra ornaments and things as a final, like I keep saying, a final send-off to all of that. So this video is a very strange one. That's why I was joking, you know, just leave if you're new here. It's going to be very weird because it's just rapidly flying around in the background while I just kind of chit-chat and talk over it. There's not even much to say about what I'm doing because it is just mostly cosmetics and aesthetics, and you know the drill if you've watched before. Trying to choose ornaments and choose things that fit with their surroundings, trying to bring buildings that make sense together, closer together in terms of logistics and also just in terms of aesthetics. If you've got, you know, big smoking chimney stacks from foundries, probably want to keep it away from like crop farms and things like that. So just kind of separating out these different groups of buildings, adding in some of the detailing here, using a lot of the Bright Harvest ornaments, the industrial ornaments. I can't remember what that DLC is called, but the industrial cosmetic pack. And then some of the New World Rising Fiesta pack and those kind of things for the New World here make a lot of sense too. And then trying to get creative with it where I can. Every now and then you'll see strange things being put down, like a railroad track just in the middle of nowhere. And this is because I think aesthetically it can kind of look nice. You can imagine like little railways coming from one factory to another to help like move things just between them. But there's no actual, you know, train or anything running on it. So just thought I would preface all that just so you all know what you're getting into with this video. It's going to be a bit of a chit-chat with me while this happens in the background. So like I said, starting off with the agricultural side of things, then the industrial, then the city, and then just some finishing touches on the docks and things like that as well. So, because the series is coming to an end, and it's been coming to an end for years now, basically, because they kept releasing DLC, kept bringing me back in, just when I thought I was done, they pulled me back in. And I'm gladly so, actually, because I've just enjoyed everything with the game. But it begs the question, well, what's after this? Are we going to do more Anno? I see many comments saying, oh, I'd really like it just to start a new series, all the DLC now from the get-go, and just, you know, go ham, have at it, all at once. Now with all the lifestyle and all the new updates and everything, you know, how would he fare in a game now? I'm kind of apprehensive about doing that but one main reason, which is I just don't really like doing repeat content. I also get a lot of people ask me to do Stellaris again. And Stellaris has had a couple of DLCs since I've actually finished my old campaign with it, although I was heavily modded in that campaign. And I just feel like there's not enough new stuff to do to warrant a brand new series. Now, that's a me problem, I guess. It's actually not a good thing as a content creator to be adverse to wanting to do more of something that's done well. YouTube really rewards you for doing the same thing over and over again. Like, it's painful how much it does. But if you find success in a certain game or a certain type of content, you should definitely just keep doing that. But I just have a broken brain, and I don't like money, I guess, and I just want to vary it up all the time, so I'm always trying to change the type of content just to keep me interested, and that way I'm authentically interested, and I like to think it makes for a better series. Anyways, when it comes to Anno 1800, I feel like I've done pretty much everything you can do in the game, and starting it again even though it would be happening all at once rather than drip feeding it over time the way I received the DLCs and the updates, I don't think it would make for anything. I don't think anything would change. You know, I collected every item in the game. I maxed out the Skyline Tower. I built every type of drugstore, built and maxed out the tourist Eiffel Tower thing, expanded its influence as big as it could go, prestiged the palace multiple times over for the Seat of Power DLC. You know, I'm just not really sure there's anything left to do that I haven't done already. Now, I know that might maybe to some people sound strange, but that's just how I view it. I'm like, well, there's nothing new to do. However, the only caveat to this would be mods. Now, I've never actually even looked at mods. I don't even know how to mod Anno 1800. I'm sure it's easy enough when you look into it, but I've never looked into it. I'm aware of the mod Spice It Up. People have told me about it. Again, never actually looked at it, but I think it adds new production chains and things. And then I'm aware of another mod, which I'm not sure the name of, but it adds a sort of Asian theater. That looked awesome when I saw it maybe 3-4 months ago now. So I'm not sure how far along it is now or if it's continued development or not, but that would be the kind of thing where I'm like, well, that's something new. That's new production chains. It's a new theater. Maybe you have to think about things a little differently. So that's kind of the thing that would get me the most excited, because what doesn't get me excited is going like, well, you're going to play the game pretty much exactly how you did before, but you're just going to do it in a different order now, you know? That's just how I feel about it. And I like to think anyway, leave them wanting more, you know, as it were. And also, we've got other series on the go now as well. City Skylines for people who like city builder type games. Satisfactory for people who like logistics games. I'd say Anno is a fusion of the two. So it's all kind of relevant content if you're into those kind of things. And I'm just waiting now for the next Anno game, but it seems like it's not going to be for a while, unfortunately. There is one other additional type of content we could do, which is the scenarios. I've only ever done one scenario, and that was the Seasons of Silver, and I failed it because I'm not actually that good of a player. But yeah, it was my first time playing it. I think you're kind of meant to sort of fail at trial and error once or twice, and then you kind of have the knowledge of what's going to happen and when to know what to do. Just to give myself a little caveat. I'm sure you could do it on the first go, but it does seem like certain things you just couldn't have known about until you play it. So that kind of thing makes me think like, yeah, they kind of intend on you doing it over multiple times. So it'd be nice to go back to the Seasons of Silver. That one was really cool. I never actually tried Eden Burning or the Postal Service one. Don't know if there's any other ones, but it'd be cool to try those and do some scenarios on the channel as a sort of something to break up the main content, and then maybe come back to the gameplay, spice it up, or see if we can do that Asian theater mod as well, or any other mods that maybe you guys have in mind. That's why I'm mentioning it here, just in case you guys probably know more than me about this. I suppose I should know these things as a content creator for the game, but I really do just play this game like a normal person playing it, really. It's really strange. And I find out a lot of the stuff from you guys. I didn't even know about that DLC until someone told me on a stream, the National Park one. I was like, oh wow, just don't see these things, and I don't really get emails from Ubisoft or anything, so I had no way of knowing without really actively looking it up myself. Anyway, I'm starting to really digress. Just wanted to throw it out there that if you've got ideas, suggestions, things you'd like to see, or if you want to make a case for why you think a new playthrough would make more sense. Again, I'm not really a difficulty chaser, guys. So you could be like, oh, just throw on Lady Margaret, that old woman, what's her name, Beryl O'Mara, and maybe someone else that's like tier 3, and just really challenge yourself. Maybe, I don't know. I just don't think that's as enjoyable to watch, personally, for my style of content. I think people like me forward planning and thinking of things and detailing and doing beautification. I'm not sure necessarily people are here for optimal playthroughs. But maybe, I don't know. I like to think it's for a hybrid of everything, not necessarily a focus on one thing. And that's also something I felt like I'd kind of proven. You know, I was able to beat Margaret. I don't think the AI is that good in the game for war. I don't find war particularly interesting, so I just don't think it's really going to be that crazy enjoyable. But maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, make a case for it. Make a case for some mods. If that's the type of content you want to see, I'm always open to listening and having my opinion changed. All right, so here we are in the industrial area, and I'm actually using some of the ornaments that came with one of the recent updates, which is a really cool update where you can earn golden tickets and I can't believe people didn't tell me this sooner, or if they did, I just must have missed it. But with the New World Rising update, you could do a World's Fair where you get golden tickets, and those tickets can then be spent on cosmetics that are out in the main menu. So I only found this out at the tail end of the last episode just by running that and then seeing it for myself, and I was like, holy crap, there are so many different ornaments in here. So a lot of them actually look really cool for industrial areas. There's like cranes and pulleys and sort of big aluminum scrap piles and all this stuff. So I was like, yeah, that was perfect for over in the forge. So now and then you'll see me sprinkling a few of those in. The issue is I don't have enough of those tickets though. I'm running world fairs constantly just to keep generating them, but you only get 15 at a time, and you have to wait 40 minutes between each one. Now another way you can get them is by doing scenarios, but I didn't want to do scenarios because I wanted to finish this series first before doing scenario content. I could have done the scenario content, but then I would have had to put this on hold until after I was done the scenario videos, and then come back and beautify the island. It just seemed like it was a bit of a silly thing to do. So that's another way you can earn apparently a lot. So I'm fine with earning just a little bit and trying to make use of them in unique locations where I can. And I'll point that out whenever I see them on video. I think we just passed a little time of where I was doing it. Maybe we'll get back to it in a second. I can't quite remember. Things are so out of order for me now in my head. But you'll see cranes, fences, metal fences. A lot of industrial ones is the ones I've used. And a lot of these ornaments are actually coming from different buildings in the game that I guess they just broke out into their own bespoke ornaments. A lot of stuff that old Nate has on his island and things like that, you'll see that they obviously took that prop, made it its own ornament, and just like allowed you to slam it down. But you can only use them if you unlock them. You only get one use, so you can't even use them that much. You gotta be quite careful with them. Anyways, this is another good way of filling in empty gaps. If you have like, you know, a big factory area and you've got giant empty gaps somewhere, putting in the little building sites I feel like is a great way to do that. You need to get the industrial DLC, I think, the cosmetic DLC for that though, to get access to the scaffolding. So something else I wanted to do here was just refactor and reorganize a lot of my harbors, piers, and docks. So this actually greatly enhanced the optimization of the island. So something that often happens when I'm doing these, when I'm playing the game, I'm like slamming things down, trying to get things moving a bit faster, just make stuff happen, make sure we're hitting the goods that we need, we're producing what we need, and then over time I look back and I go, okay, like how can I optimize this now that we've actually got the workforce and stuff? How can I make it like go a little bit better? I suppose if you're really, really good at the game, you do all that at the beginning, sort of be able to forward plan everything at once. But because you can't build and pause, I tend to just kind of get blinders on and just go, look, I just need to get this population, this particular good, and then I can like say that that's what we did this episode. So in order to keep the ball rolling, that's just often what I do. But in coming back, you'll find that you'll squeeze way more efficiency out of things when I start refactoring where buildings go, giving them items from town halls or trade unions, and then also noticing that, like, yeah, we've got a huge excess of workforce. We didn't need as much as we had in the first place. So then you can lower down the workforce by removing some of the population, and that then gives you a lower consumption rate of everything. So suddenly now you're overproducing everything. It's quite cool and fun, and it's always one of the most satisfying parts of the game for me, is going over things. You make it look better, you make it run better, and you have more to skim off top to sell in docklands or sell to traders or just whatever in the end, and you fill up your storages way quicker that way. So always really fun doing that. Again, in building up the... Oh, by the way, I should mention I was also sick recently, so it's another reason why I didn't have videos for a while, so I do apologize. It's been quite a while for Anno. But anyway, I've been sick so much over 2022 and 23, I just don't know what's wrong, but hopefully everything's fine. Thankfully, nothing's been serious, so that's all good. Anyways, so adding in some of the beach ornaments here, something I keep doing for myself is getting the little bits of sand and trying to... You can flip between all the different modules for sand. There's like 12 or something, and they have like different edges to them, so you can make it look like the sand is being like kicked to the curbs or kicked to the sides. Really love that ornament for that. It gives you a lot of creative freedom when you try to add just little bits of sand into the edges of certain buildings. So that's just something I try to do fairly frequently and do a lot around these different dock areas. Again, building out this pier, just keeping out separate piers to give this sort of off-ramp, slipway, whatever you want to call it, into the water, and then having the little dotted things in there. The little boats that are like kind of floating that you can put off the edge of piers. Now we've got all the different calamari. So basically what I've done here is I've moved all the industry from the far side to the inside of the bay. So all the calamari fishing things are basically on the inside now. And here's actually an instance of where I'll use this new ornament in a moment. Yeah, so we have the oil harbor right there. Building some oil props kind of around that, so oil storage, just to make it look like that's where they're using it. We'll actually use that later. But then I noticed that, yeah, I put 2 oil drums in there. We're not going to get to it for a minute, actually, because we're going to hop over very quickly now to the actual in-game stuff. Sorry for being a bit chaotic, but I was trying to remember what I was doing there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Island of Swords here in the Old World. Now, apologies for the abrupt edit there. Sort of cut myself off and ran out of time, and that's just because I'd already sort of earmarked the halfway point of that time-lapse, and I thought it'd be good to break up the episode a bit, not have it be just an entire time-lapse, and instead hop back over to the gameplay, maybe take a look at that DLC, the National Park DLC, but also I just wanted to finish my train of thought, which I was talking about, which was the sort of docks and the calamari and stuff like that. So if you could imagine that this island here is the island of Manola. I don't want to hop over to Manola right now because, of course, we'll save that to the end so we can have a good look at it and maybe walk around and stuff. But if you could just imagine that this is the island of Manola, and off to that area there is the sort of intercontinental transit shipping lanes, right? All the ships are coming in from off the edge of the map in this way. And because we moved the calamari farms from this side of the map to the inside of the bay, it meant that we kind of freed up a bunch of the shipping lanes, and then I sent over the upgraded piers to this side, so we have loads of upgraded piers there now, and the traffic coming in is like way faster, way more optimal, and then the traffic on the inside is mostly the local routes. People using the bay have the unupgraded piers for the most part, and that's mostly the local New World shipping lanes, so it's really worked out really well. I just thought I'd mention that. It's been extremely efficient and very optimal, so all very good. Alright, so really quickly we'll take a look at this DLC. I've sort of had a look at two potential locations for it. Of course, this island is just, there's no wiggle room, right? There's no movement on, or no area where we can add in stuff really, other than maybe the sort of central park area that we have, but also this area here and this area just out here. So of course this is the palace, the sort of palace extended grounds. We have the aquarium, the local museum, I should say, for the scholars and their university, and then the botanical gardens, which are directly owned by the palace. And the botanical gardens, for those who don't remember, they've actually been designed to have every single unique 3D model in the game on display, because there's a lot of items that don't have unique models. They just have these sort of like generic sort of building things, right? And then it'll say something different. But these are all the unique plants that you can kind of acquire in the game. And I did something similar for the aquarium and for the... God, why do I keep forgetting the word museum? Anyway, for the museum out here, trying to display all the unique models that we could in the map. That was another sort of goal of mine. So again, I'm not one for super optimal efficiency, because of course if you combine certain sets, you get bonuses. But I just wanted to have everything look really nice on display, so that's what you're dealing with. Anyways, so this would be a good location. I used to have a little walking trail out here, and I got rid of it a while back just because it wasn't looking that good. It was just using these sort of generic pathways that you get here, but they're very angular, you know, they don't really look that good or that natural, so it didn't really fit in here even amongst the trees, so I just left it as just a sort of a tree foresty sort of area. And the same is kind of true for here. I never really knew what to do with this place. It used to be part of a vineyard, and then now it just has a post office on it, which is really awkwardly placed. It's just there for optimum's sake, and I think the mail stuff just kind of sucks in the game, unfortunately. You know, I don't say that about very much in this game because I love it. And most of the DLCs, if not all, almost all, are really, really great. But the mail DLC is just one of those ones that always comes up as like, this just kind of doesn't work. Docklands as well is kind of up there for me as ones I would try to avoid if you could. I think you need Docklands so if you're going to take on the Season 4 DLCs. Anyways, I digress. So I might end up moving this. Right, so maybe we'll hop over here, clear some of the trees, and have a look at some of these DLCs, yeah? Or some of these ornaments from the DLC. Just gonna hop over to the Arctic and then hop right back just to clear the music track because I'm so sick of the Docklands music. It just always plays, like, constantly. Can't do anything about it. One day they'll add in a music player. Maybe in the future Annos. Right, so here we are on the beautification menu. We go to Cosmetic, and we have now National Park Pack. Now, I don't have enough good things to say about this pack. It looks awesome, and there are a lot of things in it, as you can see. If you just compare it to older packs, well, actually, I guess it's kind of in line, but it just feels more varied for some reason. I'll show you why. We have two dynamic sort of lakes that can be placed. So we have things like the canals that can be placed from one of the pedestrian packs, I think. And this is a very similar one where it's like these dynamic, they're almost like streets, right? But as you combine onto them, they just get thicker dynamically and look very natural. They place in trees, they place in all sorts of things. So look at what we just made. Just like that, we've made this awesome looking little modular lake thing. Now, as part of that, there's two variants of this. This is the forest lake variant, and I think that gives you certain things like piers, foresty type trees. But there's also then the grassy lake, which I think is more for parks. So it has less of the things that I just mentioned, basically. It has different types of ornaments. It's not total crazy different. It's fairly similar, to be fair. And just to be uber sure that I didn't build the same one. Yeah, you can tell if they're the same or not because they won't module into each other, which actually gives you some nice options for making like kind of unique kind of things. Anyways, so there's 2 different variants there, very similar looking, but overall they do have different uses and they can be built next to each other, which is nice. Then we've got the boardwalk, which can be kind of placed around it, which again, modular, comes with parts of towers and various other things. So these boardwalks snap into each other. They look great as well. I think they look great. Just really, really nice. We also then have the hiking trail. So we could say that the trail starts here, curl it around. And it comes with its own like sort of trees and things. Oh, I kind of doubled that up by accident. So it'll bake trees onto the sides of it and be all modular. So it's effectively just like a path, but it looks more natural. It's got rocks and trees kind of baked into it. So it's much better than the one I just mentioned, which is the ones in here. Tempted to kind of update these to be the hiking trail, although it is a fancy schmancy park in the inner city, so I don't know if it would really be the same thing. But I'll test it out and have a look. But then also we have 3 different types of bridges. So for instance, we have a bridge that can cross over our little lake here, / river. Just 1 tile. We've got one for 2 tiles. And then we've got one for 3 tiles. So again, just nice variety. Obviously, it's just a bridge modeled 3 ways over, but I just think it's nice to have that flexibility. These are often the types of things where I'm like, oh man, they've given us a 1 tile bridge. I wish they would just give us a 2 or a 3. And so it's nice to see that they've actually done it. When can we have the 4 tile bridge, please? What else do we have? So that's kind of the biggest ones that really stuck out to me, because those are the nice modular things. But then we also have big rocks, smaller rocks. Now, I don't know if they've got any variants. I don't think so. But you can kind of just move them around if you want to kind of make them look a little different. The Eagle's Nest Cafe, this big cafe which has really nice aesthetics onto it. You can kind of have like the hiking trails lead onto it, and it looks really good. Loads of people using it. Little tower that people climb up. Again, it all just fits very well, and that's what I was thinking of building out here. Sort of a little hiking trail with maybe a cafe at the end. Huge ornament, by the way. Really big. Massive. Cozy little cafe, comes with rustic tables and a spectacular view. Favorite spot for thieving crows and hungry bird watchers. We then have unique trees, right? So we have a willow tree, the gnarly oak, the ash tree, and the wanderer's rest. Oh, actually, that's not a... I thought that was a unique tree as well, no? Oh, I guess not. It's just a place for people to stop and have some lunch. Oh, they're on tree stumps. That's cool. Or at least they sit on tree stumps. So yeah, so just some bigger trees. No variants on any of these, I don't think. But very unique looking all the same. I love the willow tree. Perfect to have around the lakes. And just position them in different ways. They sort of creep over everything. How cool is that? I think it looks really, really good. So again, I'm just very impressed with this DLC. And I almost completely missed it. It had to not be for people who told me about it. So then we have picnic tables, or not tables, but like kind of cloth. An area for a picnic, a trail brunch. There's the actual kind of variant of it on its own in a way, just without the tree and the bigger space. A campsite, a couple tents for people to chill out at. Again, no variants on that. A tent, just 1 tent on its own. So very similar to this, right? You've got your bigger placement and then the small variant. You have your bigger placement and the small variant on its own. So you can kind of space them out a bit. Really nice. It's great flexibility because you could have just done it this way or just done it this way. But to have the 2 combined means that I can bring this off to the edge on its own or start laying them out in a different way. You can almost make a little military camp if you wanted to. Put it next to one of the castles or something. So that's pretty much that. We have a ruined tower, which is awesome. Definitely going to be using this, I think, somewhere over in Cape Trelawney in the future. So I built this little village here. And then I have a little old town, right? With some of the old walls and things. And I was trying to say, like, oh, they're like ruins, you know? I tried to create, like, gaps in the walls to make it look like they're under repair and things like that. They're being preserved or restored. So now, with that DLC, you can kind of also decorate around it to say like the rune tower is kind of in there. Obviously it would probably be best suited inside, but that definitely fits my rune aesthetic, where we can have some of the towers look like they've fallen apart. So love that. A feeding station, not actually sure about this one. Let's have a look. It's a feeding station for horses, is it? Oh yeah, cool, nice to have. Nothing too crazy with that, just some hay bales and some shelter, effectively. What else do we have? That's the feeding station, the hiker's hut. This one's really cool. Love the look of this one. It's like the beginning of the trail, in a way. Big campfire area as well. Really nice. That could be the end of the trail. You sort of begin your trail here. Use your actual hiking trail pathway, bring it up to a hill or something, and then you end at the campsite. Would be nice. Put some tents around it. Could look really good. Little trail sign to tell you where you are. Again, that's just like that sign, but a little bit smaller. Observation point. Again, that could be one of the final destinations as well. And I think that's basically it, isn't it? It's just the bridges then, and the modular boardwalk. And then it's just grass is just there, so you can grab it really quickly. I think that's basically it. So I just wanted to show all that off. I think it's a really cool DLC. It's probably one of my favorites, actually, in the cosmetic packs. Just because I think it can be used in so many different ways. For me, personally, anyway. So I'm definitely going to try and make use of some of this, especially in this area, because there's so much terrain to cover that I'm not going to be filling up with anything, right? There's huge factory sprawl here, but there's then massive areas that won't really be doing anything. And I'll probably put some farms down for aesthetics, but then also just some hiking trails and things like that, which would also make sense out in this biome anyway, because there's a hiking trail built into the mountains. All right, that's going to have to be it. We'll hop back over into the time-lapse and check out how Manola is coming along. Alright everybody, you find me back in the land of the time-lapse, here over on the island of Manola in the New World. So effectively what we're doing at the moment is painting out new orchards. So over on the left side I actually made use of a stamp. Thankfully stamps were introduced into the game not that long ago. They're effectively blueprints if you didn't know. You can basically build a layout, copy and paste it, and put it anywhere else in the game then. And then you can actually just change what it does slightly. So stamps are really useful. It's also great for beautification because you might maybe build out a little factory area, or like those previous areas I've been doing, the scaffolding. You build out a little scaffolding building site, and then you could just stamp it a few different ways, and then place it down in future if you need to. And it actually also works across game saves, right? So if I was to start a new save file, you could actually have some pre-made stamps ready to go. You could play much more quickly and efficiently that way without having to remember your best layouts and stuff like that. You could just rebuild them effectively. So the orchards, some of them have those trade unions built in. They're very efficient. It's all great. And then other ones are just kind of making use of the space a little bit more efficiently, because before I had chaotically and sporadically just placed down orchards whenever I needed them, not always factoring in like the space constraint and everything. So we're able to condense that space down, get a lot more out of them, and just make it also look a little bit nicer around it. Excuse me. So here's the docks I was actually talking about. I thought this had already happened, so I guess I didn't need to talk about it as much. But effectively, these are the docks where they're improved piers. So you can actually see a lot of traffic are making their way over here already. I keep saying traffic, but you know what I mean. A lot of the ships are playing too much City Skylines. A lot of the ships are making their way over here as the first point of contact coming off of the edge of the map. So it's a really great place for them. The actual docks and pier that I built out here, it's probably my least complete or least favorite of all the different ones. The beach is at a really odd angle, so it's very difficult to make a pier that actually looks good going across the whole thing. Because of course I can't build diagonally, so you have to have all these almost serrated edges going up, like a knife edge, going all along it, and it just doesn't look that great. So I tried to add in like sort of canals or cut-throughs with bridges just to break it up. And then because there's so many of these generic crates placed on top, because that's just the default, you know, when you place down quayside, the generic filling of the quayside is just these random crates and things. So to clear those, you have to put down your own ornaments of either crates, lampposts, trees, that sort of thing. And that can kind of clear the space a little bit. Roads, they can also work too. But yeah, it was just one of those ones where I actually think I'm pretty good at making like key signs and docks. I'm really happy with the ones I've done for the docklands specifically over in the old world, but also a couple of the ones I've done in the new world are quite nice. But this one, not my best work, just going to be honest. This one actually is now on the south side, right? So we're on the bottom now of Manola. Not inside the bay, but just on the outside of the bay, but on the south side of it. This one comes together a lot better, I think. But just for time's sake, I've sped it up actually quite a bit, so I don't show you absolutely everything. There's a lot of trial and error when moving around various depots and things, so obviously you want to make it kind of look good, but also get a lot of extra space, so using depots everywhere I could also helps with that. Also got a bunch of piers on this side too, but they are not the upgraded version, but they do still have the Harbour Master office with a bunch of items in there to give us a benefit, so that's really helpful too. I might end up going quiet every now and then because there's not always a lot to say about everything I'm doing. But this is one of the small problems you'll see constantly crop up when it comes to building out docks, is that your road turns into the quayside road when you get over a certain threshold on the grid where it considers it coastal. And as nice as that it can be, it's a shame you can't just flick between the two or something, because sometimes it just starts a little too early or not early enough, and it can look a bit weird. But there's actually some creative ideas in here which ends up looking cool once we get to it. So we've got our docks. It's sort of an industrial area, right? This is where goods and things come in. So here I'm making use of the sand tile, trying to make it blend it into just the corners of the roads, so it's like it's gathered at the edges rather than spread amongst everything. You could pave it out across all the grass there, but I just thought it looked really weird. So I'm trying to actually leave some of the grass in where it is on the right side, and try to get some of the rid of it on the left side, and then try to have like sand look like it's built up around the edges as well. I only realized recently those sand ornaments and things can only be built close to the coast, not on the coastal tiles only. They can actually go a bit further than normal, but not all the way. You can't actually build them inland, which is interesting. And there's no obvious delineation marker to let you know where you can and can't do it. It just tells you if you've gone too far. So this is another example of where I said I'd be using rails, but they don't actually have any logistical purpose other than just looking kind of cool. So I kind of thought like, yeah, close to the docks depot. Then we have our supply depot, our regular ones. So you could imagine like people put a thing on rails, like a mine cart or whatever, and just push it in. So I kind of think using the cranes and pulleys and train lines and things like that, railways, for their non-intended purpose can actually be quite a cool ornament. You know, it's like you just turn it into an ornament if you use it for something else. Although there's always the pain point with the game for me is that you just can't blend textures or change the base texture or something. It'd be so nice to have a mod or something. I mean, I lose so much of my life time-wise to a mod that did this. But if you could just replace the base texture of every ornament with whatever you want, you know, that'd be so nice. But I just don't think the system is there in the game for it. I'm guessing a mod doesn't do that. But you could have a mod that just makes a transparent texture, right? So that it doesn't have anything underneath it. So here I'm carving away little bits of the trees because I actually moved the logging camps over. So I wanted it to look like they'd been chipping away at the trees that are right next to them. So we have a big full forest all around it, and then just little bits that are kind of cut away right close to the buildings. And that gives a really nice effect of saying like, hey, the people that are doing the logging here are clearly like cutting down the ones that are close by. So again, that's just the docks that I'm just not super sold on. I'm not sure if I did anything else with it on the far side, but we're back over towards the industry now. Ah, yes. So here we go. These are some of the items that you can only get from the golden tickets. So I noticed this big giant oil platform. That's why I got distracted earlier, because I was like, don't I put an oil platform in here? But I do it right now. I obviously replaced the one I had. It's awesome looking ornament. Really cool. And it works perfect at the back of that oil harbor. And then in here, I was just kind of seeing what else I'd unlocked and seeing what could work in here. We've got an aluminum scrap pile. So this place, this whole forge makes aluminum. So it was perfect to place in there. And some extra fences and things I dotted around, although I've kind of cut a lot of that stuff out. Just for time. Whoops. Sorry, I just banged the mic there. Just for time's sake. Not to be... I didn't want to show absolutely everything I did because there's a lot of trial and error. So here, as you can see, we're back over the main city of Manola. And I was over another island a moment ago. I'm just lowering down the population because we don't need as much, that many people. And I'm just trying to bring it down to a more base level so we can actually then just decide what do we need, overproduce, have more stuff, like bring down that consumption level. Everyone's got everything they need anyway, so it's totally fine. But then I can just be more space efficient and make little parks and extra areas that otherwise were taken up by houses. So the reason I went to another island is because they share their workforce anyway. So I was trying to see like, well, how much could I get rid of on the other island before deciding how much I'd need here. And then just kind of filling out some of the little leftover gaps that were made then as a result. So this sounds kind of interesting because on the far side of it, I think mezcal is produced in these like buildings that look like bars, like the little restaurant reskin effectively, but they're used as production buildings. So what I ended up doing is moving a collection of them really close together, putting down these sort of parasols, which I'm of two minds about. You know, it's from a different biome, so you actually have people and crowds sitting at them that don't look like they're from the New World. But you can imagine they're just fancy schmancy tourists that are visiting here, you know. We've modernized the New World now. You can imagine they're flying over, no problem. They're enjoying some of the drinks, sights and sounds of the New World. So yeah, so just, unfortunately with the Fiesta Pack and the Hacienda stuff and everything, there's no sort of like dining area, like a place with parasols that people can sit out at. and have food and everything. There is for the beach, but like I said, you can't build that far in. So I tried that initially. I was like, they could just sit on sand, but I was like, doesn't work apparently. So now I was moving over all of the remaining Jornalero houses to the back of the river. I always like pushing things up against the river and then factoring roads into that. We've got warehouses here, lots of restaurants all combined, and a marketplace next to it. So it's a very lively area. Lots of, lots of crates and stacks of goods and all this various different things over here. But closer to the market, I've got the market stalls, the individual stalls then, with some pathways to wrap around. Don't feel the need to fill every single square with stuff. Leave some squares blank. Because it's obviously people walk across them and it looks more natural to have actually just like blank areas sometimes. At least I think so. Man, we're coming kind of close to the end now. So again, you've seen me do this many times over if you watched previous episodes, just building all these houses in and against the river, making sure they all have roads, although some of this actually changes, and then I'm using the bright harvest ornaments with the clotheslines to put it in around the back. Again, slightly fudging things here because that ornament will have old world style people interact with them rather than the new world style people. So you can kind of spot out the difference if you really pay attention. But at a glance, from a little bit higher up, it's like, yeah, they just have clotheslines. Totally fine. Moving some of the obrero houses down further, trying to always get this natural blend of, rather than having distinct districts from one residence to another, try to blend them a little bit. So have your artistas blended to obreros, the obreros blend into the jornaleros the further to the river they get. So the closer to the coast, I imagine it, the higher the land value, sort of, if you want to think of it that way. So that's where the artistas and the more built-up places, with all the boxing arenas and the cinema and all that kind of stuff. And then the further out towards the river, it gets less and less developed. You'll see a lot of the paving roads will turn into regular unpaved roads. The houses will kind of get smaller and smaller, more randomly and more chaotically placed, whereas the closer you get to the artistas, you have more orderly placement, so they fit into a grid much better with more designated streets. But the further back you go, the more chaotic it is and more random almost. So I was struggling at this point to kind of think of different ideas because there's there's actually a decent variety of ornaments to use in the New World, but I was running out. I only so many combinations of things to do, but I decided to make a sort of little garden here, or a little mini park area across from the town hall, which I just used the flowering shrub and then used the 3 different variants of it, rotated them into the corners to make them look like they're all combined into one. So it's like 3 just big flower beds, I guess. And then just darkened it to say like, yeah, this one's actually taken care of in terms of the grass. Like the grass is watered, it's not dried out as much. So thought that kind of looked cool. So now the town is actually basically done, and we'll have a look at it in just a moment, but I'm moving over now to the industry. So the industries are actually, a lot of these were placed out really far, just so I could use a town hall to get the best out of the chemical plants. But it turns out I didn't need as many of those chemical plants because we ended up overproducing with the amount I had. The trade union items were very powerful. And now, especially, since I just deleted a part of the population, we need even less. At least to some degree. So I was able to get rid of some of them and then compress all this area over here onto this plateau where the jornaleros used to be. So this area that we're looking at now, that used to be all population. It's all kind of condensed and compressed and moved over and beautified with even bigger gaps of empty space now as well, just for parks and things like you saw. And now this area is going to become one big walled off sort of hacienda / factory kind of area. It's where people go to work, and the wall sort of delineates it from the jornalero residents and the artistas and the obreros that are along the edge there. And then there's some jungle sort of trees in between to sort of break it up as well. So I had initially thought that each little area was going to get its own wall, but I thought it was too much. I thought one big wall going across it would be good enough. And then we just have tons of chemical plants. They all have their own trade union. They've got their own supply warehouses. I've added in some fire stations as well, just in case. And yeah, just filling the gaps then with beautification things. So around town halls, I tried to make them a bit more bougie. I added some fountains and some colorful trees and their own little walls to kind of say that's their own little area. Sorry, not town halls, trade unions. But then in between the actual factories themselves, I just tried to put in grass, paving, trees, those kind of things. Nothing too fancy. Because it just doesn't really make sense to have tons of fountains and, really ornamental ornaments placed in there. Because, it should be stuff from Bright Harvest, like hay piles, wood piles, that kind of thing. And that looks a lot better. But yeah, it's tough because the industrial ornaments don't really blend with the tiles of a lot of the buildings over here on this side. The chemical plants and stuff have dirt flooring. So that's why the other factory area, which we'll see a bit more up close, is a lot more of the industrial ornaments. Over here, it's just a lot more like grass and streets and things like that. So I gotta say, we're coming to the end now. This is the final little bit here. We just pull back and have a look at it, but we're gonna have a little walk around and see it for ourselves. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I think the wait has been long enough. Welcome to the unveil of the now completed full island of Manola. I always get a little bit nervous when showing off one of my builds after such a long time, and this one especially, as it is one of the final builds of the series. It's like the investment, the payoff for the investment of the whole series so far. But I think that nervousness is often unfounded because the developers have just done such an incredible job at how the game looks and the aesthetics that it's almost impossible to make something look truly bad, unless you're one of those people that just build in a giant grid. But I'm really happy with how it's come together. As the fog is lifting here at the crack of dawn, the day-night cycle is enabled. The vibrancy of the houses and the different layers of architecture as we push back towards the river. I think the game looks stunning. It looks so good. It's like I forget every time I take a little bit of time off from the game and I come back to it. I'm just like blown away by how good it looks. But anyways, I digress. Let's have a little bit of a tour around the island itself. It's obviously a big one, so we can't even zoom out all the way to see everything all at once. But what we can do is maybe just have a little zoom in on specific areas, talk through a few things, and then maybe get down on the ground and walk around the city itself. So maybe we'll start with some agriculture, we'll have a look at the industry, maybe the docks, the town itself, and so on. Yeah, there's been a fire. Don't worry about that, though. Alright, so, just to kick us off, actually, really quickly, I just thought we should look at some of the stats of the island itself. So, for me, anyway, on this island, we've just got under 17,000 total population. They shouldn't really be changing at all, although I saw a number just go down by 1 there for a second. I think male sometimes has some issues, but other than that, they should be totally fine and content. I was checking some of the statistics just beforehand, and they basically have everything they need. They're actually just 1 short here. That's because I just put a house down just before recording here, so they're going to fill up that extra person, no problem. But every house has everything it should need, right? They're in the right amount of distance towards everything, I think. The lifestyle needs are all complete. People seem pretty happy, even if we pick a random one out here near the river. You guys have everything, even have cinema access. Everybody's got everything they need. So that's always what I try to strive for with my building. Sometimes I let the happiness ones slide just a little bit, but I always make sure they've got everything they need so they grow to their full potential. So yeah, let's have a look over at the agricultural sector, as it were. So up by the hydroelectric dam, of course, this island is fully electrified because of that. We have the cotton farms, so there are 15 in total, and if we just pull in a little bit, there's a little bit of detailing in here. I'll try to keep the camera relatively steady and still so we can kind of not blur it at all here on YouTube or anything, but not many ornaments or anything in this place. This is really more about the efficiency of it. You'll notice every farm has silos, and they all have tractor barns. There's 15 in total, so it's quite a lot. The volume of cotton as a raw ingredient here is massive, which is why we have these giant warehouses everywhere, and I think everything's running pretty well. What we can do is always press L as a hotkey, and it turns on just to let us see if anything is... So it's on now, by the way. It's on. Alright, apologies there. My cat's just knocked something over, and then he started scurrying around the place, and I thought maybe I was being broken into for a second, so I just had to check everything out. We're all good. No problems. Anyway, I was just mentioning the icons that will fade in and fade out. They basically do that because when you hide the icons and then you turn them back on, they sort of flicker on and off for like some of the buildings that had that issue before. Whereas, at the moment, they're right at the edge of capacity. They're pretty much fine. No real issues. Alright, so that's the kind of cotton industry, right? 15 of the farms there. Then we have Caoutchouc land, which is all against the cliffs here. And then pretty much all snaking inside of this area. Then we have corn doing a very similar thing. And all of it is being supplied by tractors and silos. So huge amounts of manure and also the oil. Okay, so just to focus back on topic for a second, we'll hop over and have a look at the hacienda. So this is sort of our main focal point of the overall industrial section and the overall crossing of this river. So it's kind of the first place you run into. You cross the river and you have this lovely like little promenade as you come across. Some sort of paintings and statues and murals and flags to let you know where you are, what this place is all about. We're into factory central here. The airport right next to the hacienda, some big wigs running their different companies and their various investments. They're flying in this way. One of them, Schlong, is just arriving right now. He's going to come in, oversee the whole area, see how his investments are paying off, maybe do some shady business deals and exploit the workforce a little bit, and then go for a nice drink of mezcal in one of the gazebos here, admire the statue of Schlong and the fountain, while people are selling their odds and ends at the markets and things like that. So actually used one of the supply warehouses as part of the hacienda in here, which it looks really good, and also increases storage space, which is nice. And yeah, that's basically kind of it for the hacienda in this overall, I suppose, area, you know. So there's only so much you can do without having to eventually just pile all the same buildings on top of each other, because of course that's just the way the game is. At a certain point, the scale becomes so big that it becomes less of a city builder and more of a factory management game. That's why it's like a hybrid of the two, especially with all the DLCs, of course, right? So all of these different hot sauce makers, they actually have zero workforce in them, so that's what you're dealing with as well when it comes to a city builder. People often get confused with this game, and it's like, it's kind of more of a factory logistics game than anything, with a city builder skin to kind of falsely lure you in. Anyways, as we move over this way, we've got, you know, trade unions with their own, like, sort of, it's like mini haciendas, that's the idea. So they have their own little warehouse, trade unions there with the various people inside of it, fountains, etc., places to walk around, some crates and things that will be stacked up around the back. So I should mention that on the next episode, this save will be given out, so you can really have a look around and enjoy all the details and things if you wanted to. Or you could just destroy everything and try to optimize even more if you wanted to. The numbers that are fluctuating, by the way, are from the commuter pier. Other islands aren't necessarily as nicely balanced as this one, but on this one, the number's not changing. So it's just the other ones. I just thought I should mention that. Again, here's one of those nice ornaments that is a kind of a hybrid of different ornaments slapped together and then came as part of the Grand Gallery. So I still have one in there, a big crane and stuff, so really cool things in there. Adding it onto the oil industry, obviously, which makes it look kind of cool. What else do we have? Oh, this guy's dropping off rare. That's for a soccer game that we're running, actually, at the moment. So yeah, I think that's basically it for everything that we need to show. We've got the aluminum for the factory, as it were. Oh yeah, just very last thing, I guess. We have, these are the motor assembly plants. I used to have so many of these, but I did manage to cram them all down into a much shorter space thanks to these items. Bekkanen, Bruno Ironbright, and Ferris Al Sarami. So I was able to really crush them in there. 7 within one trade union, so pretty happy with that. You could obviously get 8, maybe you could get even more. And then flanking them, we've got like the extra buildings which are under construction right now, some building materials and things like that, aluminum scrap piles as we get further and further in. That's that crane that we just showed from the Grand Gallery. So really cool objects in here that really work for, I think industrial ornaments especially just look incredible here. Just brighten up the day a bit. So obviously just layers of foundries over and over and over each other. But with the scrap piles and a few of those unique ornaments, definitely brings the place to life a little bit more. Okay, and then we are firmly into orchard territory. So we sort of have this delineating line between the orchards, because it's still technically like, well, kind of like mechanized agriculture industry. And then we have the regular industry over here, traditional industry. So it is all kind of part of the one place. I suppose you could put a fence in there. Maybe that chain link fence would be kind of cool. Do we have the chain link actually at the moment? We do. You could kind of do that scrapyard fencing. Maybe. You need to unlock a lot of it, but that could work there, and it wouldn't actually hinder the optimization of this place that much, because it has tons of stuff going on. They're totally fine. They're doing really well. So I'm sure you could actually put that in there if you wanted to create a delineating line between the two. But I actually just like the coconut palm grove things there themselves. Anyway, so yep, as we go along this way, of course, we just have the coconut, then we move into citrus, then we just have the jungle, basically. Now, next to the pathways for the jungle, I've kind of like purposefully eroded some of the trees on the sides. I basically just grab a tile either side of it and get rid of some of the trees. So some of them have been chopped down. And then as I mentioned before, oh, we've got a rogue citrus tree here. There we go. As we get further and closer out to the docks, the trees kind of scatter as they've been chopped down, probably to make use for some of the crates, maybe some of the rooftops, or whatever else has been built here that they might want to use. As I was mentioning, this is one of the docks that I'm not that happy with. I just think it's kind of average, you know. It's nothing too crazy with it. It's nice with some of the bridges and things, but other than that, I'm shaking my head. You can't see it, but other than that, it's like, whatever. It's fine. Couldn't really figure a way to do much more with it, but just because of the angle of the beach, to be perfectly honest. Alright, and then we'll move over towards our other industry. This one looks a little bit better, and again, I think it looks quite nice here. Oh, it's starting to light drizzle is coming in now. Because we have the timber yards here, and then a lot of the trees that are kind of cut down in and around that area. It definitely makes it look really good, I think. Then the 2 little rail lines we have coming out of the depots and the various construction sites to help move materials around. Some of these big cylinders. How else are they going to move them, man? They got to put it on a little minecart thing, ship it along or whatever. Oh, I guess that's not actually joined there. I could join that. Why the hell not? Makes a bit more sense, I think. Yeah, so they ship it along there. Cranes move everything around, get the next building project underway. Maybe they're going to build some extra depots. Who knows? Left some of the trees standing here just because there was no nice way of covering it, so I actually made sure to put trees back in. It was just big bushes before. Then we have little beach ornaments and things for people who do come down here, maybe to have a little bit of a break, even though it is more of an industrial beach and docks. This one I'm a little bit more happy with. Again, we just have like different slipways for people to get out with their various small boats, but it is mostly just a large industrial docks with lots of piers, and that's pretty much it. Again, I think if I was getting a bit more creative, maybe we could put a little bit something out on this side too. Okay, and then the very last one would just be this dock. So this one's probably the best of the 3, I think. Most natural looking. It's got a lot of the calamari farms in there, some docks, Harbour Master office, a lot of cranes at the back to help move things along. We have the train line that comes all the way along here, little railway station, some cranes again, little end station for that. That's where the main warehouse of the island is. Various 2 different little depots, small little mini piers for the various local boats to go out, fishing boats or whatever. And that's pretty much it. So maybe just really quickly before we move on to another area, we'll just have a quick walk around. Maybe starting with the hacienda. Here's some of the drinks and things filling up, I guess, over there. So yeah, I never looked at it, but of course we have our... Is it llamas? Well, I don't know what these guys are. Oh, let's see if I can remember the name of these birds. Oh, I can't. It's... Oh, Nandu. Nandu. That's it. The Nandu farm. That's where we get the feathers from. Oh, Santa's over there. A little early. Yeah, we can hop in just really quickly. Have a look at some of the marketplace. See what's on offer. Wow, these ladies have very tall hair. Got a little Marge Simpson thing going on. Yeah, it's party central, man, down here. And why wouldn't it be? The place is extremely successful. Alright. Should we... No, we'll just run. We'll run a bit faster down into the actual factory section. Have a look at the ironworks where it starts to get a bit more polluted. Here's all the people coming in from the airport. Baskets in tow, ready to get to work. Could hop in a vehicle, actually, and drive our way there. Yeah, definitely getting busy now. Down towards the iron section. A lot of coal being shoveled. The heat's building up. The pollution's building up. The oil is being piped around. Let's get out of this real quickly. We'll take one of these donkeys. Just because we can see a bit better, actually. There we go. Alright, now we get to have our little orchard walk, right? We get to follow along. We have the coconuts over on our left, the citrus on our right. Can't take that way. Actually, have to take the main road, the paved road, out to the docks. I should do like an ASMR time-lapse of this place or something. Or not time-lapse, like a walkthrough. The sights and sounds of the 1800s. Turn off the music and just walk through the place. Have our little signpost here to let us know where we're going. Oh my god, it actually is right, weirdly enough. Kind of. The harbor is to the right. The town is to the left. It does say city is off that way, which is wrong, but it's kind of cool that it happens to be right. Kind of. Airships flowing in. Looks good, man. And that's basically a look at everything on that side of the island. Now, we'll have a look at the actual city. Not too much crazy going on with this that's changed, really, from last time. Although I did skip over a lot of it in the time-lapse because there was a lot of trial and error. But effectively, what we have is layers, right? We've got layers of types of residents. So at the front, as I mentioned, closer to the beach, the philosophy is that we have more artistas. Further back, then we get to the obreros. And then further and further back, we get to the jornaleros and much less paved roads and stuff. So you can actually see some of the roads will start to not be finished as they make their way further out. And there'll be spotty bits around maybe areas that would be a bit more built up, like a church or so on and so forth. And then in between the houses, fill the gaps with houses, with clotheslines, hay bales, wells and things like that. Actually, that well is built in. Outhouses, wood piles, swing sets, all those kind of good things from the Bright Harvest ornaments. And then as we get down to the market, we've got this very, very busy and eclectic market area, which is effectively lots of little of these market stalls, people flogging to all sorts of different goods, corn stalls, some trees and things just dotted around next to a big warehouse. That's maybe where they hold a lot of these goods for people. And Then as we push a little over towards the left, we get to the restaurant area. So the idea here was that the stadium is going to be really busy, attracting lots of people, and a lot of the drinks bars, we had so many of them, I think 6 in total, that they were just piled over there before in a big grid, just to be efficient. But now they're just spaced out around the town, even though they are the same kind of building, copy and pasted. Maybe with just a different skin. They're just pasted around so that we have like all these different bars just outside of the soccer stadium, so that people can kind of come out and have drinks, celebrate, etc., etc. And then some of those areas have, like I mentioned before, table and chairs and canopies and things that are from the pedestrian pack, I think. So yeah, so just using them where I could, trying to merge some of the buildings and create them at different offsets so that they don't all just look super copy and pasted. So you have one here and one here, but they're just flipped so they look a bit better. Pathway going into the doorway of another, so these two terraces almost look like they're part of one area, sort of, just a little bit. And then the dining area is flanked on either side. So some thought does go into it, into the placement, the scattering of these different buildings, to make sure that they don't look overly uniform. Whereas when it comes to factories, I'm okay with, stacking these all together. It makes more sense to have them together. It's also more efficient, obviously, because of the trade unions and stuff. But I think it just makes sense to have the rows, this is more planned out that way, whereas this is more like a town that organically grew, restaurants popped up, that kind of thing. At least that's the idea. All right, sun is setting here, so we'll just brighten it up again. We'll just go to the daytime, maybe flick it to about 8:40. And obviously the stadium is just this big focal point. I never moved the stadium. I decided to keep that where it was and just continue building around it. So that's basically that. So yeah, more restaurants and things out this side. I would actually say that this should probably face inside. That would probably be the way it should be. Then we have the fire station, police station, just some dirt roads and things, some clearance in the front of it. We then have a big post office. It has a wall going around it just to keep it safe. Little gateway that leads into the front door, obviously there. Boxing arena, and then just extra storage piles and stuff for next to warehouses where I was trying to fill up some of the space that was created. Then we have the Hacienda Artistas. These are very, very dense and very copy and paste type buildings, so there's not much you can really do with it other than just stack them together. I guess you could use them a lot more sparsely. I suppose maybe I could have tried that. So I didn't need as many of them as I have, because we've got 2,700 extra artistas. It could have went with the regular houses maybe and sprinkled them in a bit more. I could maybe see that as something I could have done better. But overall, still kind of happy with it. So yeah, we just have like little gates that lead out to the river if you wanted to get out there. Obviously, there's no way to blend the brick tiles into the grass or do anything nice with that, but I did feel like it'd be good to have a wall there. Just seemed to make sense to me. It was either a wall or just lots of trees, and the wall, I thought, ended up looking better. We have the sort of dynamic flower bed arrangement things, or whatever they're called. What is it called? Exotic flower bed, yeah. Exotic flower bed on the way up, with all the different seats built into it, so people could just chill. There's a break between the wall and there, so that's kind of looks quite nice, I think. Post office and some flower pots down around by it. Again, can't change the base of the post office. Wish I could put the brick tile under it just to make it look the same as the other stuff, but that is what it is. And then as we get out to the beach, we have a little area for boats to kind of go into a little slipway off into the water. So again, just little boat ornaments on both sides. Local boats, little barge, those kind of things. And then onto the beach itself. Just a scattering of various different lounges, sun loungers and things like that. Every now and then when we get closer to the actual edges of the town, we have the changing rooms, the ice cream shops, those kind of things that are just a little bit close to the edge. So as you're coming in, you hit the changing room on your way out. Change again or whatever it might be. So down here, obviously this big restaurant pier thing. I was trying to put a second one in, but I couldn't actually make the space for it. Even when I got rid of all this, it just wouldn't fit for some reason. So not really too sure why that is, but this one's fine. It did look weird anyway, having two of the exact same building next to each other. And then again, just lots of lifeguard towers. Maybe a bit more than you'd realistically have space-wise, but it's fine. I just think it looks nice. It's just to break it up with some different things on the beach. I've also meticulously, or I did, maybe they've unloaded a little bit, but I made sure there wasn't too many sandcastles. I wanted them to be close to where some of the actual sun lounges were, and then none of them are like off on their own. Because often what you'll get is when it's just random, just piles of them that are there on their own for no reason. The other thing I did with the sand textures was, I mentioned this before, but where here you can see where the paving meets the dirt road, it then meets like this little bunch of sand that's kind of bunched up. You could just go with number 1, big block of sand, but just doesn't look as good, right? So if you go with number 5, Looks like it's been kind of eroded away. It's gathering next to the buildings and so on. So I just think that looks cool. Got a little cat down here. Let's see if we can pet it. There's actually two. There's one right there. Oh, she doesn't like the dog. Is this one looking at a dog as well? Because it did the same maneuvers. Hey, I can't. There we go. Oh, it's gone. I don't know where it went to. It was here a second ago. All right. A little parrot as well. So yeah, we'll just have a look down on the ground for a moment. Little seagulls chilling. Oh, the sounds of the waves, man. Summer is just over, but I miss it already. I love going to beaches and stuff, and I didn't really go to any this year. I went to, for little trips and holidays, I went to Amsterdam for a weekend, and I went to Ireland, and then, oh, we went to Rome, actually, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I didn't have, like, a beach holiday. Definitely want one next year. Alright, place looks pretty good. We've got a double entrance here into the main town itself, but this then leads to a little mini pier also. So if we move down here, we can see... Is that our Great Eastern? It's one of our big boats anyway. And then the flagship boat is just over there by the lighthouse as well, actually. Alright, we'll try to speed up. We'll head back in now towards the factory area. Oh yeah, as you're coming in, you have the murals and the flags. The fiestas are kicking off. And then I've used the old world skin for the town hall. I just think it looks a bit better than the other one. And then some, like, I don't know what you call these, but the sort of, not confetti, but I don't know what they're called, but these things draped between the, it's like a little celebration thing. Just add some color to the area. I can't remember what they're called. Samba school kicking off. Everyone's loving it. Having a great time in there. All right, and then through here is where we reach the sort of, again, another sort of factory part, another big hacienda territory. As we come in here, and it's all just factories and chemical plants, a lot of chemical plants in this area. And I'll tell you what, for this one, we'll just go into portrait mode, so we'll just stay just above, or postcard view. Just stay above everything. Obviously, I haven't done too much with the ornaments in this area, not really anyway. But some of the town halls, again, make them into like little haciendas. Sort of, anyway, with their own little fountains, some more nice ornaments. Again, the boss works in here, so he has a nice little area. People come here to chill or whatever. That's at least what I've tried to do with them. I know it's not necessarily accurate to what a trade union would be, but, you know, taking some liberties with them to make them into haciendas. These are the soccer ball buildings, I think, right? Oh, we've got some anarchy symbols on here. What the hell's going on there?
What can I do for you?
I don't know why that is. Is that to say that they're thinking of striking or something, or they're unhappy? I don't think anyone has poor working conditions or anything, so that shouldn't be a problem. And was it in the latest newspaper, maybe? City becomes uglier, special gift. Rioting is down. Yeah, I don't know. Never noticed that before. Little anarchy symbols above the soccer ball places. Don't see a reason for it. Well,
I have things.
Whatever. Yeah, it's on a few of these buildings. I don't want these guys unionizing now. Getting ideas. Alright, we'll head on out. We cross the bridge. If out to the right would be towards back up the hill towards the hydroelectric dam. We just have jungle now pretty much all the way over towards the massive Camphor Island. So this is all camphor wax. Oh, there's cinnamon out here as well. Oh, yeah. I blended the two because they actually use the same foliage. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, good use of it, Darren. Because, yeah, it uses the exact same tree. Whereas the coconut and the citrus, they use different types of trees. So they're a little different. And I think that's got to have to be it. I'm not really sure there's much else to show, you know? We had that little flower bed garden area thing. Just here. And I think that's it. That's the new world. Now, someone pointed out to me that there's a little guy on an island here that you can interact with. And I saw him, but I've never interacted with him. So let's see if we can do that. Let's see if I can find him. I guess I don't know if I have to turn on the UI or not. There he is. There he is. I genuinely don't know what he does, but let's see. R. Hunt, your old pal. Now, I never did the campaign, so if it's related to that, it's going to be lost on me.
Magnet for genius.
Pedro, captain of the Panama. Affects all fisheries. Is this guy? Pedro is the leading expert at avoiding swerving seagulls and serves some of the best fried squid. This could be totally coincidence. Oh no, this is at Swords.
I love the fire service. They help me a lot.
Maybe I need to... What's this? Oh, shit. I just picked up something. It said a pile of crates, something, something.
Ah, old pal. It's been a while since we adventured together.
I mean, I don't know who you are, but okay. I have a project for it. Something small, but something real. We're going to need a few things. Okay, let's go.
Just like old times.
Deliver 10 wood and 10 seals? Sails. Oh, yeah, we could do that. Just to him, specifically, or do... Yeah, by boat. Okay. Hopefully I have this stuff. So it was 10 of this, and then sails. It'd be a construction. Oh my god, I've got no sails. Alright, bear with me while I go grab some. Alright, here we are. I've gotten the 5 sails. One of my other islands has like 1,000, so no big deal.
I sense you have news.
I do.
I've been waiting for your call.
Look at this marvel, a humble fishing boat just for us.
I will follow.
Maybe leave the dynamite at home this time, though, eh? I feel bad for the fish. If you ever need a change, Manolo will be here waiting for you. Oh, we actually get to use it? Oh, super cool. The Orion 4, the Kishati. And what do we have here? Usable in Arnhunt's boat, the Kishati. Cast out the net, destroyed after use. A net handwoven by Arnhunt's auntie. Oddly, it seems to only work in the waters of Manola. Okay. Where should we go to do this? I guess it only works in the waters of Manola, so just somewhere deep in the bay here we'll do it. This is so cool. I had no idea. I genuinely had no idea. I find it crazy that people actually didn't spoil this for me, but they did tell me there was a guy waiting on the island, and that was like months ago. And I remember seeing him. I was like, oh yeah, look at this. This is awesome. I wish you could kind of similar to how you walk around on the ground, just pilot your own boat. That'd be kind of cool. Give you the controls just to sail around. That'd be nice. Feels like I'm doing that. All right, so yeah, we'll throw it out here. I hope this is okay.
You'd only
So
wave
click.
to the bottom.
Oh, we have to click where we want to choose. Yeah, right here then. Oh, he's throwing it out. What the hell? Nice. The effort. Collect his net. Oh, is that it? Or do we actually get something somewhere? Do I have to look for a spot? Hooked. Oh, we got calamari. Well, we have 1,600 calamari. 1,600 tons of it. Alright, so I basically decided to look it up just to see was I missing anything, and people had said that that's pretty much the extent of it. You know, you throw out a net, you can catch some fish, predominantly calamari it seems to be, and it's a sort of a nod to the campaign where you throw dynamite into the water to catch fish, or to kill fish, I guess, and just pick up the remains. I hadn't played the campaign, so I wasn't aware of that, obviously, but still super cool. I thought it was really cool the way you actually see the net going flying out and stuff. Love little Easter eggs like that, where it's just like a nice nod to different things and past Anno games and stuff like that. So a decent amount of work actually goes into stuff like throwing out the net and everything, and having it be modeled and stuff. So I thought that was still super cool. Nice little note to end on, I think. So yeah, so that's got to be it for the island of Manola. Hope people are happy with how it's all come together, and hopefully by next week we'll have the final episode out, and I can give the save file out, and you guys can fix all my inefficiencies. Alright, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.